Believe it or not, OnePlus launched its 8T almost 2 whole years ago now, so I thought it best to take a look back at the device to see how it holds up in 2022. Is it still the crazy speed demon that it once was, or has it degraded a lot in quality since its release? Massive thanks to Damien Wild for providing today's subject matter. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and this is my review of the OnePlus 8T 2 years later. Funnily enough, I reviewed this smartphone when it first came out 2 years ago for Android Authority. I actually really enjoyed it. It did lots of things very well. It had good cameras, really nice screen, really good performance, even the battery life was good. But it all got let down by the fact that the recently launched Nord looked very similar to it. And it didn't feel like it had that touch of premium, that touch of class that you would expect from a much higher end device. Of course, when you actually used it, it was quicker and you noticed those things, but those are kind of deeper within the smartphone, and it would have been nice to just have a separate design to sort of differentiate the two. These days, sure, it might not look the most original, but at £250 on the second-hand market, it really doesn't need to. It packs in 8 to 12 gigs of RAM, Snapdragon 865 5G, 128 to 256 gigs of storage, a 4500 mAh battery, and a 6.5-inch Full HD Plus 120Hz OLED display with a 48 megapixel main camera. This culminates in a phone that feels very nice, even 2 years down the line. You get plenty of performance, a solid screen, and decent battery life to boot. My 5 days of review time with the 8T actually left me feeling pretty positive about it. From the fluidity of Oxygen OS's interface on Android 12, to the always wonderful alert slider for quickly muting your phone, to the all-day battery life. The 8T is a fantastic phone for the money, as long as you're not too worried about the design looking a bit, well, aged. All these goodies are likely helped by the big 6.5-inch Full HD Plus 120Hz OLED panel. It's sharp enough, bright enough, and generally very fluid. It's suited to gaming and media consumption without feeling enormous and unwieldy in the hand. The fingerprint scanner is a bit meh. It's an in-display one, and to be quite honest, it's not really any worse than any other in-display fingerprint scanner, aside from maybe the Samsung Ultrasonics. They're kind of up there. For God's sake, bring back the capacitive readers, they work so much better. Thankfully, I didn't experience any kind of Bluetooth issues or Wi-Fi dropouts, call drops or anything like that. It was a solid connection the whole time. Similar to the performance in games, it's very good. Not groundbreaking by any means, but it's actually pretty well spec'd, so even if you're sort of into higher end games, they're going to run on here just fine like they did for me. Battery life, even on the older review unit that I have here, is pretty solid, easily all day with sort of 3 to 4 hours of screen on time. On one of my busier days, one of my lighter days get about 2 to 3 hours, and I can actually go 2 days on a charge on this. But as I've said in other videos, I don't use my smartphone nearly as much as a lot of other people, so your mileage may vary. Just expect all day battery life, that's what I'd say. And thankfully it's got 65 watt fast charging as well, so even when it does drop out, you can just, charge it up to 100% less than an hour, which is really nice to have. Though no wireless charging on this one. The 8T's usage experience has been pleasant thanks to Oxygen OS 12's fluid and clean interface. I know many OnePlus fans have been turned off the company by the fact that their recent software hasn't been all that good, and that's a shame because OnePlus was always known for having fantastic software and obviously great performance as well. But I didn't experience any issues with my time on the 8T. Granted, it was only 5 days, but there seems to be mixed usage across the board and mixed sort of opinions from people on stuff like the OnePlus subreddit, which I'm a part of. You actually see so many people saying, look, I love OnePlus, but it's time to go. Their phones aren't as good. I want to go for something from Samsung or from Google, or even Apple sometimes. And it is a real shame to see, but it is what it is. And I'm not entirely sure if the 8T will hold up going into the future purely based on this, but I would expect it to get one more platform upgrade at least. The camera setup is a bit of an awkward one because, well, only half of it is actually useful. The 5 megapixel macro and 2 megapixel monochrome cameras are pretty useless, to be honest, though the 48 megapixel main and 16 megapixel ultra wide are pretty good, and the 16 megapixel selfie cameras are pretty decent as well. They produce punchy, sharp photos with plenty of dynamic range. Sure, there's maybe a bit too much saturation going on, but only a smidge, and the disparity in quality between the main and ultra-wide cameras isn't as big as the specs on paper would have you believe. There are plenty of modes to choose from in the camera app, and it's fairly easy to get a decent image from the 8T, despite the fact that OnePlus, up until recently, really hasn't focused on its cameras, if you'll pardon the pun. Don't get me wrong, this isn't battling with the Pixel 6a for example in terms of image quality, but it is at least giving other used smartphones at this price point a run for their money. And that's kind of the sentiment with the 8T. It's a really good value proposition to those looking for something with lots of speed, a nice big bright screen that is very fluid, and of course all-day battery life as well on a used smartphone. £250 is not a lot to pay when you consider that new smartphones go for 4 or 5 times that much. I think compared to when I first reviewed it, I am less worried about the whole looks like a Nord thing, because the Nord's been out for a while and OnePlus's design language hasn't really changed, so we're kind of used to seeing most OnePluses looking fairly similar anyway, aside from the 10 series. Overall, good recommendation from me. I do recommend checking out the 8T if you are on the fence about one. They are good smartphones. Just keep in mind that it's not going to take the best photos and it's not going to be the prettiest. It sort of focuses more on the speed and just the reliability of the thing. Speaking of OnePlus, I actually have other smartphone videos from OnePlus coming out. Damien Wild, who provided this hardware, has also provided loads of one. I think I've got a 7T Pro McLaren, I've got an 8, an 8 Pro, and a 9 possibly. So videos on those smartphones coming soon. With that, I want to leave today's video, guys. Please do like, comment and subscribe if you're new around here to never miss a video like this one. Please do check out Damien Wild and all those social media links in the description. Did I already say that? I might not have. I'm recording these in batches. It's now 5 o'clock in the morning, so yeah, pretty tired. I got work in 4 hours as well. Anyway, I've been Ryan Thomas. I'll catch you later. Peace.